In today's video, I'm going to share with you how we took a relationship coaching business, no offer, no clients, to validated offer, regularly going viral, 13 super warm leads per day in under 2 months. I'm going to share with you the processes that we used at every step of the way, the challenges that we ran into, the ways we used AI to speed things up, the prompts we used for AI so that you can do it yourself, as well as a checklist of all the do's and don'ts that you want to do if you are to replicate the same thing and grow a business in under 2 months. Now, this is going to be really useful for someone who maybe doesn't yet have an offer, is thinking about a couple of things, but doesn't quite know what the market is going to respond to and is also in a bit of a hurry to make money. This is also going to be ridiculously useful for someone who may have an offer and may have leads, but they're just looking to either enter a new platform or speed up the rate at which people buy from them. With that said, my name is Yahya. I help coaches, consultants, course creators build, scale, and monetize their online personal brands. And let's rock and roll and jump into the training. So here's the profile for my client. She helps single women 40 plus who are ready for love find real love without wasting time on unmarried men, without all the red flags and facing them and going through all the crap. And all of this is highly, highly validated. We know that women are responding to this. And towards the end of October, we're getting 13 followers per day in less than 24 hours, about 25 pence per follower or $0.3 per follower. Having said that, what I want to predicate this with is, although we've used ads now, the entire process is without ads and without ad spend, and ads are only being used in the last stage of her business where she's already going viral, where her content is already validated, people are already converting and buying from her, and the only reason we're running ads is to speed things up and scale the business. So let's jump right back into it, and let me walk you through the entire process. So the first step was, how do we take an idea and validate it in under 2 weeks? This is something that I've seen people spend eons on. I've seen people take anywhere between months to sometimes even years thinking about the offer, the niche, who they're going to serve, so on and so forth. I like to speed this up and get it done under 2 weeks. And so my approach is, we have two levels of market research. We have qualitative research, which is open-ended for all the insights, the thoughts, the words, the phrasing. And then we have quantitative research to add numbers to the insights that we get. So we're looking for patterns, and then the most important patterns eventually go into our marketing. And so this is a screenshot that she sent me while doing the research, where she was thinking of certain things about her niche, and then she was speaking to somebody, validating her niche, and turns out she found out about an addiction to a certain type of man, connection with alcohol as well. And that is why we like qualitative research, because not everything is available online. Not everything may be delivered to you through your past experience. And so it's very important to speak to the right avatar and get as many insights as possible, and then start adding numbers to them. So the sources we used in order were Reddit threads, because Reddit is an incredibly great place to get insights. You can find entire topics and threads on anything and everything that your avatar is going through. The same thing for Facebook groups, where we found a lot of people who she could speak to and interview. And then eventually we did face-to-face interviews where we were adding numbers to the insights that we'd already found from Reddit and Facebook groups. Now, the first challenge that we ran into is she started getting people or women who were saying, I don't need a man. Now, pro tip, you're going to get people, you're going to get responses like that. You're going to get things or be told things by people who you think are an ideal client, but they're like, I don't need this product. I really don't need this. And so when she reached out to me and she said, well, the first couple of women that I'm speaking to are saying, I don't need a man. I'm happy. I'm fine. I was like, well, that's why we do 30 plus interviews. And the relevance and the logic of doing 30 plus interviews is, first and foremost, from a mathematical point of view, anything that's 30 plus, it becomes statistically significant, meaning you can take those learnings and project them on a bigger population. But the second reason, a more practical reason, is that the first couple of interviews might be with people who really aren't looking for your solution or are not the relevant, the most ideal person. And so you don't want to give up. You don't want to immediately pivot to something else. So my advice to her, keep going, do more interviews, speak to more people. And eventually, when we did that, we eventually found more insights. Now, the next challenge that we had is, how do we create a hell yes offer that sells itself in less than 2 days? Again, an offer is something that I've seen a lot of people take weeks and weeks and sometimes months over, and then they put out the offer and it bombs and no one buys, and it can be very depressing and demotivating. They're going round and round in circles with their content and messaging and no one buys. I've heard all sorts of horror stories and depressing stories. So the challenge really is, how do you get something that basically sells itself, that's designed keeping the ideal avatar in mind in under 2 days. And so this is where we use AI. And if you don't have that AI, I've linked an entire video that you can use where I basically break down how I built this agent out and how you can build the same thing. But what we did was we took all the call transcripts of all the people that she'd gotten on calls with. Then we took a description of the avatar. Then we took the insights from Reddit and Facebook and fed it to the agent. The agent is obviously trained on a lot of offers, real world offers that I've helped my clients create. It's trained on how human psychology works and what people tend to look for in an offer. It's trained on analyzing interviews and call transcripts and taking the most important things and putting them in a marketing friendly, reader friendly, consumable fashion so that people find an offer that's a no-brainer and sells by itself. If you want your version of this, you can check out the YouTube video. I'll make sure it's linked in the description below. But we started getting offer variants for her. Now, here's the first challenge that we ran into. Some of the people were responding to her with very generic, vague terms like, I want to be happy, I want peace. And this is a very common thing that can happen when doing market research. I've seen lots of clients do this. I remember one client had built out an offer where he was helping people find peace. And I was like, well, show me the market research. When he showed me the market research, there was someone who was going on and on about peace, peace, peace. I want peace. I was like, well, ask them what peace looks like. And they said, well, what peace looks like is I'd like to quit my 9 to 5 and have a side hustle. So I was like, that's the offer. You're not selling peace. You're helping people quit their 9 to 5 and start a side hustle. So when people give you these sort of answers, what you want to do is you want to start asking outcome-based questions. And so here, where she reached out to me and she said, well, some people are responding to me, but it's very generic, vague, good sounding, but non-tactical, non-pragmatic answers. And this is where I told her, let's start looking at it in terms of desires and outcomes. So in her case, she was getting a lot of people saying healing, but I said, well, healing is great, but we can't sell healing. We need to package it in an outcome that's sellable. One of the best ways that I like to think of outcomes is surface signals. And surface signals are the thoughts that people have at 2 a.m. about their life regarding their fears and their desires. A surface signal would not be for an overweight person, wouldn't be while going to bed they're thinking, I wish I wasn't overweight. It would be, I wish my feet didn't hurt all the time. I wish I could fit into the clothes that I used to fit into while going to college or university. See, these are the ways and the words that people are thinking, and these words are important for not just building out the offer, but then the messaging as well as the content as well. So the way we circumvented this challenge was asking outcome-based questions, and then obviously people started responding. Now, this brought us to the next step. And the next step was, how do we create an aligned message showcasing her as a niche of one? And the reason for that is Instagram is full of a lot of people selling relationship offers. It's got a lot of people who've been there for a long time. So how do you immediately go and grab the attention of your dream client, dream avatar, and get them to start paying attention to you? That was the challenge we set out to circumvent here. And what we did was, again, we took Magnetic Messenger and now we gave it the offer selection, meaning all the offers that we'd gotten here, the variants. We selected one of them and then we fed it the avatar and my client's specialties herself to look for the sweet union where her expertise, her knowledge, her methodology, her method, her mechanism circumvents and coincides with the dream desires of the avatar that we got from understanding them, doing the market research as well as the offer. And we got something that I like to refer to as authority artifacts. Now, authority artifacts is a way of setting you apart from the competition and turning you into a niche of one where no one can compare you. You can't get people on a call and say, hey, how are you better than this other person? People aren't confused about what you do. They instantly set you apart from everybody else in the marketplace. If you want to learn more about authority artifacts, you can study them in the video link down below. But let me tell you what authority artifacts are not, because a lot of people are taught to showcase authority the wrong way. Authority artifacts are not the cool designer shirt or jacket that you wear. They're not pictures of you on stage. They're not fake photo shoots. They're not AI rendered beautiful looking images of you. They're also not your degrees, your certifications, none of those things. A good rule of thumb to think about authority artifacts is, what about you cannot be copied? So people can wear the same colors as you wear. People can use the same copy, same branding. And that's why you have a sea of sameness online nowadays, where everyone thinks they're unique, but they kind of sort of look the same. They kind of sort of sound the same. They kind of sort of are selling them more or less the same IP. So this is none of that. There's not cool IP names. There's not cool looking pictures. There's not cool sounding things. It is instead something much deeper. And these are your concepts and your worldviews. These are your belief systems. This is how you see the world. And this is what you believe to be true about the world. So to give you an example of a real authority artifact that I have, one of my beliefs about the world is words lie, behavior doesn't. You know, I'm a huge fan of psychology. And so for me, it is more important and it is more relevant to study behavior than to study words. And so, for example, when my clients come to me and they say, I lost a sale, the call went well, I don't know what I did. I tell them, well, show me the video. And they're like, well, I don't have the video. I just have the transcript. I'm like, nope, transcript is not going to show me body language. A transcript is not going to show me tonality. Transcript is not going to show me posture. It's not going to show me eye movement. It's not going to show me micro expressions. So the body cannot lie. A lot of the IP and a lot of the mechanisms that I create are based on human behavior, because my belief is that words lie, behavior doesn't. And so one of my IPs, for example, is known as the invisible close, where I help my clients close their prospects invisibly, meaning without getting on calls with them. It's all to do with human behavior. It's got everything to do with who the client is, how they're showing up in content based on what they believe to be true about themselves and their personality, and therefore creating their content cadence, and then the objections they get from people who get on calls with them and why they don't buy. Some people are too relatable. They're not seen as authoritative enough by their prospects. Other people are too authoritative and too intimidating. They're not seen as relatable by their prospects. And so this takes into account the entire of the human behavior chain, from beginning, meaning creating content, to end, meaning closing the person. And the reason it's called the invisible close is because they don't have to get on a call and close that person, because we've studied behavior so well. And I've incorporated various elements and aspects of behavior plus past clients into AI that now diagnoses and allows them to fix that problem. You see how this is something that's so unique to me that it cannot be replicated. No one can copy the invisible close, because I literally came up with it in my mind and off of my experience working with hundreds of entrepreneurs. That's an authority artifact. And so if you're watching this, I would encourage you to think about what are your authority artifacts. Maybe go check out the YouTube video to think about it. But authority artifacts are unique to you. They cannot be copied. They can be copied on a surface level, but that's about it. No one can copy what is a brainchild of yours. And to make this easy for you, authority artifacts do not necessarily have to be brand new ways that you've invented or you've created, because you might not be at that stage. You might not be at my stage. You might be beginning right now. You might be starting out. You might not have enough clients to have made the observations that I have. That's okay. Your authority artifact doesn't need to be something that you've achieved after lots of mastery. It can be as simple as a worldview. It can be as simple as a conviction. It can be as simple as a belief system that you believe to be true about the world. So if you forget the invisible close, my belief is words can lie, behavior doesn't. Another one of my beliefs is everything is figure-outable. Another one of my beliefs is trust over tactics. So a lot of my marketing, a lot of the things I teach are built on human trust building instead of tactical algorithmic hacks, because the hacks come and go, but if you build trust with an audience, they will continue to buy. That is how my belief shapes my mechanism, the things I create, the ways I go about helping my clients achieve their goals. And so do you. I hope this takes the pressure off of you. Now, when it comes to not being copied, you're still going to have people copying. I still have people copying the Bold Brand Blueprint. I have people copying the invisible close. The thing is, they copy what they read in my copy. They cannot copy how it works, because only my clients know how it works. And so this is almost a surefire way of protecting your IP and protecting your brainchild and protecting all the things that you value and make your program and you unique. The next challenge it brought us to, ladies and gentlemen, was how, now that we had the authority artifacts in place, how do we make her the go-to authority in her niche? We had to answer 3 questions. The first one being, why her? Why should people buy from her? Now, you might have been taught to flash your certifications or your background or take fancy pictures of you on yachts and in dark colors and build trust and branding. Bullshit. is not my approach. This is not why people buy from you. I have had the weirdest answers from people who bought from me as to why they bought from me. A client of mine actually bought from me because she saw me in a dream and she saw my initials when she was going on a bus ride and she saw them appear again and again and again. Another client of mine bought from me. He said, well, because you laugh like Santa Claus. Right? So highly unpredictable reasons why people buy. And there is no amount of flashing certifications or flashing results or showcasing my expertise that would have made them. So this is not that. Please don't confuse this with surface level tactics. The next question you want to answer is why now? Why should they buy from you now? And you might have been taught to create urgency or scarcity. Nope. The only person who responds to urgency or scarcity is someone who is coming from a scarce place. The last thing you want for people to do while buying your high ticket service is to buy it from desperation and scarcity. They're not going to be good clients. This is not that. And the third thing is why not, which is again the invisible close, where we use the invisible close to handle objections and pre-sell people before they get on calls with her. So to answer the first question, why her, we created her story in their words, and we pinned it on her channel. From dating unavailable men to best friend love. And unavailable men and best friend love are both things that came from the market research. What matters here is their word. So you might have been taught to create stories. There's various ways of doing it. This is not just some random story from her background to make people relate with her. No. These are specific instances and specific challenges that she went through that her audience are going through right now. So they see themselves in her story. They see their problems in her story. They see their solution in her story. This is a strategically created asset to show to people that she gets it, that she's the best person to help them overcome their problem. The next question to answer is why now? The why now question is her mechanism, which is their path. Here's the method I use with my clients to help them break the cycle of unavailable men for good. And both of these are pinned. Now, you might be wondering, well, telling people about a mechanism is not going to create urgency and speed. It is. It depends on the way you tell them and who you're targeting. If you're targeting someone who is an absolute, let's say someone who's at the bottom of the barrel in your niche and they're struggling like crazy, they're the ones who respond best to scarcity and urgency. Anybody above them who's had some modicum of success, doesn't matter whether you sell weight loss, you sell relationships, you sell how to make money, anyone who's had some level of success is intrinsically motivated to achieve their result. They're just looking for the right method. And the moment they find the right method and the right path with the right person, they're like, let's go. So if you think about what you're selling, not as I'll work with anybody and everybody with a heartbeat and a credit card, I need people, but instead think from a point of view of who's the perfect person for me and what do they need to know about my mechanism that draws them closer to me. So again, my mechanism, for example, one of my mechanisms, my overarching mechanism is the bold brand blueprint. I help people discover their bold brand blueprint. So what's the difference between what I help people do and other people who build brands? I help people discover their bold brand blueprint. I don't help people create something fake ass that other people look up to. And this is where when people copy me, they go wrong. They copy me and they think we're creating perception. I'm actually taking a subject matter expert and showcasing them in a way that they've never been showcased before. Instead of taking a person and telling them, you don't look good enough, you don't sound good enough, go put on these clothes, start jumping around, start doing real night. So the right people who come to me are like, you know what, yeah, I am the subject matter expert. I know my shit inside out. I just need to communicate it in a way that I get the same respect online that I've already gotten in the real world. That's a very different profile compared to an up-and-comer, super struggling, highly insecure person who's like, I don't know anything, I can't work with anyone, I don't know if people will like me, build a facade, we start using AI-generated images. Like, it's a very different psyche. That's why it's so important to showcase your mechanism so the right people can see themselves in you. Now that we had this, for the third question, why not? Objection handling. We wanted to create high converting content. And obviously I don't like taking forever in high converting content because a lot of people on Instagram will tell you, well, you got to spend 6 months, you got to spend a year, Nope, you don't. Not in the world of AI, not when you know what you're doing. So keep in mind, we'd spent 2 weeks researching and validating not just the offer, the avatar, the messaging and the offer. So for us to create high converting content, it was super easy. And this brings us to the next AI agent that I used, which is called Content Companion. We took the research insights that we'd gotten at every step of the way, and then we took what my client had opinions about, the topics she was very passionate about, and the angles that she was looking at things from, and we fed it to Content Companion. Obviously, Content Companion is an agent that I've created for my clients. If you want a version of this, you can check out the YouTube video where I teach you how to create your version of Content Companion. The AI is basically trained on my avatar, my style, great copywriting practices or video practices, depending on what sort of content you're creating, the surface signals that my dream clients think in and speak in, and the fears and the desires, the secret fears and the secret desires, as well as all my achievements, so I can sort of put that into places as and when needed. And then obviously a comprehensive style guide, repository of past high performing content that's done very well for me. So I've essentially taken the guesswork out of content creation. My belief, again, from a Bold Brand Blueprint point of view, is the subject matter expert these are the areas that establish you as a key opinion leader. It's not the hook you use. It's not the cool way that you jump on screen. It's none of that. If you're a subject matter expert, those things really don't matter to you. And so we leave that to the Content Companion, meaning the grunt work, creating the copy, the hooks, the titles, the body, and all those things. We leave the opinions and the topics and the angles to the person. And then obviously we have research that's validated. We have all the surface signals. This is how you engineer conversion. So let me explain something about conversion and virality. A lot of people think you need to go viral, you need to go broad so that a lot of people find you. And then some people out of those people will invariably buy from you. That makes sense and it does work, but it takes too long. In her case, we had to do, and we wanted to do everything very quickly. So if you want to do things very quickly, what you're looking for is a hyper-targeted prospect to speak to. Someone who's ready, willing, and wanting to buy and is very prone to buying from you. Meaning, we look at the prospect not just from a point of view of, is this woman 40 plus? We look at it from multiple points of views, meaning what are her values? What is her belief system? What are her convictions? What sort of life does she live? What is the secret desire that she has that she doesn't want the world to know? All of that is fed into all the AIs that we use, which then creates content that appeals to only these women. So we're not looking for grand, large-scale virality. We're looking to go viral within a very specific area. And that's why our metrics are actually not views. So she was getting great views. They're actually DMs. They're actually shares. They're actually reposts. These are the metrics that we look at to know if content is landing and if it's performing. And this is how we reverse engineer virality and conversion. And we started experiencing this from the 15 to the 28. She had 3 pieces that went absolutely nuts, maybe more. These are the 3 she told me about. And this is when we knew we had a winning formula. And so this now brought us to the next challenge, which was how do we scale things? How do we get more leads without posting more? And we were looking at 2 objectives. We were looking at building an audience faster, and we were looking at scaling and selling more. This is where we started using paid ads. So we took the high performing content that was doing well, and then we started boosting it to get her more followers and get more people to DM. And obviously, with something that's validated, she immediately started getting followers within the first 30 minutes. In less than 24 hours, she had 13 and was spending about 25 pence per follower, which is about $0.3 per follower. This is the important part, which is the 2 metrics that she had to take a look at. One is cost per lead and one is lead quality. A lot of times people will get followers by running ads or follower ads, and they'll be low quality followers. Meaning when I say low quality, I'm not being judgmental about the person, but it's like they're never going to buy from you. And then they think, all right, what sort of lead magnet should I create to get this person to buy from me? And then it leads to utter confusion. My method and my philosophy is simpler, meaning you take a couple of steps back and think about what sort of signal should I put out so it only gets the right people to come into my world and want to buy from me. And these people are more prone to buying. And that's why out of the 13 followers, only 1 was low quality. That's the important part, because then the other 12 are prone to buying from her. So the 2 metrics that we look at is what's the cost. In her case, it's $0.3 per follower. And then the other metric we look at is lead quality. She's at 1557 right now. Full disclosure, she was at about 1,000 when we started. So not all of these are high quality, super qualified people. But we've got a couple of 100 people now for her who are raising their hands in her DMs, buying from her, and we're off to a great start. And all of this has been done under 2 months. So I hope this gives you insight into how easy it can actually be and how fast you can actually take an offer, validate the offer, build messaging around the offer, validate the messaging, create content that is guaranteed to convert, start converting content, start getting people, and build a following while other people are spending months and years second guessing, figuring things out, etc., etc. Again, all the relevant links are going to be down in the description below. If you're interested in partnering with us to scale your online personal brand, check out the first video link below, which is my method and my mechanism. If that resonates, let's connect and let's see if we're a good fit to work with each other. With that said, I'm out of here. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.